Now, before any of you come for me and read me for filth or read me for shade, these are just my top 20 fragrances that you need to at least sniff or at least try. Hi, I'm Gabby and welcome back to another edition of The Fragrantician, where I am the Fragrantician and we talk nothing but fragrance. So in this edition we are talking about, or I am rambling on about, fragrances, perfumes that I think, my top 20, that you need to either at least try, sniff, sample, and if you don't own them, at least try them, because these fragrances are I would say they're timeless, they're classic, they're staples, they're fragrances that have been here for years, they're fragrances that have maybe only been here for 10 years, but in my opinion, they are fragrances that I think that you need to at least try. So let's get into it. So my first one, let's get the baby out of the way. Chanel number 5. Yes, Chanel number 5, you either love it or you hate it. I'm in the category where I dislike it, but I don't hate it. The reason why I don't like it is because it has aldehydes, and to me, I'm not a fan of those aldehydes. It's been around since 1921. The nose behind this is Ernest Beau, and I think that it's a staple that everybody should at least try. It's stood the test of time, and there's a reason why, because it's Chanel number 5. So the second one I'm going to talk about is Guerlain Shalimar. Now, Guerlain Shalimar, this has been around for nearly 100 years. It's nearly as old as Chanel number 5. It's a lemon, citrusy, vanilla scent, but vanilla for grown-ups. It's slightly spicy, it's slightly citrusy. It's a beautiful fragrance. I absolutely love it. It's not for everybody, as I say. None of these fragrances are for everybody. However, I still think you need at least to try it. You still need to at least to experience a Guerlain fragrance, because a Guerlain fragrance does have a particular DNA to it, and I think it's beautiful. So go check out Guerlain Shalimar, the original Oriental Vanilla. The next one I'm going to talk about is another Guerlain, and that is Samsara. Now, I have not owned Samsara, but I have tried Samsara. I knew a girl that I used to live with, Victoria, my housemate, and she loved Samsara. It was her signature on and off. It is a sandalwood bomb. It is beautiful, it's striking, it's elegant, it's classy, it's everything that Samsara is, and it is that Eastern spice bomb, which is absolutely lovely. I still do want to get a bottle of it, but I think I'd like to experience the pre-reformulated version, because the reformulated version, the sandalwood isn't as pungent and in your face like the original is. But go check out Samsara. The next one I'm going to talk about is again from the House of Chanel, and that is Coco Mademoiselle. Now, this came out in 2001. This is a rose, fruit, patchouli, slightly vanillic. It's everyday, it's a staple fragrance, it's a classic fragrance. If you haven't worn Chanel Coco Mademoiselle, you've probably smelt it on other people, and you've maybe even commented on other people about Chanel Coco Mademoiselle. It is a strong fragrance. It is a fragrance I love and I have, and I absolutely love Coco Mademoiselle, so go check that one out. The next one I'm going to talk about is from the house of Cacharel, and it is Anais Anais, and this fragrance came out in 1979, but I wore it to death in the mid-1990s. I absolutely love this fragrance. I actually said that I wouldn't own this fragrance, and then I've reneged on that, and I now do own this fragrance, a vintage bottle of it. And it is a hyacinth, it is lily, it is a spicy floral, it is strong, it is typically French. I would say the bottle is hideous, however, the juice is beautiful. It's a classic, timeless, elegant fragrance. And Anais Anais is how it's pronounced. A lot of people say Anais Anais, but it's Anais Anais. And it is beautiful. I absolutely love this classic scent. So at least smell it, at least try it. The next one I'm going to talk about is again from Cacharel, and that is Loulou. And I do have a bottle of this. I have a vintage bottle of it. It is an incense tuberose spice bomb. It is strong, pungent, bold, audacious. The new formula is not as good, I would say, as the old formula, but even still, it's still got quite a bit of punch to it. Loulou, it's inspired from the actress Louise Brooks from the film Pandora's Box from 1928, and it came out in, I think, 1987, and is it Jean Guichard is the perfumer behind this, if I remember, and it is a strong statement. It is beautiful. It is, if you love the next fragrance I'm going to talk about, then you will love it. The next one I'm going to talk about, going on from that, is from the house of Dior, and that is Poison, which came out in 1985. I think the nose behind this is François de Machy, I think, or is it Edouard Flechier? I can't remember. But anyway, because I'm just going off the cuff here. I remember when this came out when I was a teenager, and wow, yes, it is a fragrance that I remember my mother wearing. I adore this fragrance. I have this fragrance. If you'd like me to do a review of this fragrance, I will. Although I have the reformulated version. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Apparently, this, I don't know if this is a myth or not, but it was banned in certain restaurants because it was so potent and strong. And I do remember it being in the 1992 film The Hand That Rocks the Cradle with Rebecca De Mornay, and I remember, is it Annabella Sciorra applying it from that original stopper. So that was probably the first formulation. And yes, and Julianne Moore had a very untimely demise in that film, but I remember Annabella Sciorra in that film applying it and thinking to myself, oh wow, that is a very grown-up scent. It is a grown-up scent indeed, so go try Dior Poison. The next one I'm going to talk about is from Yves Saint Laurent, and that is Opium, and that came out in 1977. Again, a huge spice bomb. It's a fragrance I dare not wear, although my husband loves it when I wear it. Whenever I wear this fragrance, he goes cuckoo for it, absolutely. But it's something I couldn't wear. It does have myrrh in it, and I think that I would maybe like the reformulated version. It's a little bit tamer. Classic fragrance from the 1980s that a lot of women did wear, or even men. And I think because of it has that regal spiciness about it. It was just a bit too strong for me. However, it is a fragrance I really, really appreciate. So go check out Yves Saint Laurent Opium. The next one I'm going to talk about is again from Yves Saint Laurent, and that is Paris or Paris, which came out in 1983. I think the nose behind it is Sophia Grossman. She is a real artist. Now this fragrance I do love. I love. It is the epitome of florals, of roses, of violets, white florals, yellow florals, purple florals. It's everything you can imagine in one bouquet. Pink florals. Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. I even love the reformulated version as well as the older version, but it is an absolutely elegant, again, timeless, classic French perfumery. Beautiful. And it has memories of Paris for me. The next one I'm going to talk about is again from the house of Dior, and that is Hypnotic Poison, which came out in 1998. I think the nose behind this is Annick Menardo. This is that vanilla, this is that caraway, this is that slightly Play-Doh-y smell, some people say, slightly root beer smell, some people say. I've never smelt root beer, would you believe? So there you go. But to me, it smells of white chocolate on my skin. However, I would say the longevity and the performance isn't as good as it used to be. But it's still nonetheless a classic fragrance from the late 90s that caused a bit of a storm as well. So Hypnotic Poison. The next one I'm going to talk about is Mugler, Thierry Mugler Angel. It's been my signature on and off for nearly 30 years, since 1992, 93. It is that chocolate patchouli. It is bombastic. It dominates a room. It's strong. It's not for the wallflower. It's for the person that wants to make a statement. It was a fragrance that when it came out, it broke the mold. A lot of these fragrances broke the mold. They changed the game of perfumery in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and even going into the 21st century. This one, in the mid-90s, late 90s, it was worn by so many people that you could smell it everywhere. Not as much now, but still lovely. Still that heavy patchouli. On my skin, it's chocolate patchouli with berries. It's beautiful. I absolutely love it. Bit of a fairground fragrance, which I love. And it has a bit of a candy floss note in there. But if you love patchouli and you want to smell what patchouli is, go check out Angel by Thierry Mugler. The next one I'm going to talk about is from the house of Lancome, and it is La Vie est Belle. It only came out, I think, in 2012, so it's not even 10 years old. However, it has gained popularity. Why? Because it is an iris white floral sweet bomb. It is powdery, it is effervescent, it is girly, it is playful. It's a fragrance that I necessarily don't particularly like or dislike. However, it is still beautiful, it is still classic, it is still stood the test of time, and it is probably the number one seller, possibly, from the house of Lancome, and it is the only one from Lancome that is on this list, so it managed to make it. So go check out La Vie est Belle. The next one I'm going to talk about is from the house of Viktor and Rolf, and that's Flowerbomb, and this I do own. This came out in 2005, and it is a sweet patchouli flower bomb. It has jasmine, it has a tea note, it's slightly effervescent. For some, the patchouli is still quite strong, but it has been reformulated, so it isn't as strong as it used to be. However, it is still that girly fragrance. You will have smelt Flowerbomb at some point over the course of the years, whether it's in an office setting, whether it's in a clubbing setting, whether it's in a formal setting, dress-up setting. People everywhere have worn Flowerbomb, and it's a fragrance that you can't really dislike. Maybe some say it's generic, maybe some say it's just not for them. But for some, Flowerbomb is just a fragrance that you still need to check out. So go check out Flowerbomb. The next one I'm going to talk about came out in 1971. Clinique Aromatics Elixir. Now this is your typical chypre floral. This is patchouli. This is galbanum. This is bergamot. This is that classic patchouli. It is an aromatic scent. It is a strong scent. Again, it's a 1970s scent that was worn by a lot of people in the 1970s and 80s, and I wore it indeed myself in the 1990s. I absolutely rocked it when I was clubbing in the 1990s. Got me a lot of compliments as well. But I think Aromatics Elixir is just a classic chypre. You know, it is that quintessential chypre floral that has stood the test of time. It's not for everybody, it is polarizing, but go check it out nonetheless, because train your nose when you're smelling fragrances. Try and pick out certain notes. In that, it's just, whoa, it punches you. Clinique Aromatics Elixir. The next one is Plastic Fantastic Gucci Rush. It smells of plastic. It smells of peach apricot, where the apricot is in there, but a peach plastic bombshell. Do you imagine the erasers, the rubbers that smelt of like different fruits? That's what Gucci Rush smells like. I absolutely don't like it. I really don't like it, but I appreciate it. Hate the box, hate the bottle, but Gucci Rush is just that fragrance that is meant to conjure up those nights of clubbing, and I love the stories behind fragrance, and this one, it has a bit of a clubbing background behind it. So go check out Gucci Rush. The next one I'm going to talk about is our dear Britney Spears Fantasy. Yes, Britney Spears, we do love you. And this came out, 20 years ago. And let's face it, you know, it is your cupcake candy scent. It's my guilty pleasure. Now I've gone on to Britney Spears Intense, the Intense version I love, which has a bit more of a kiwi note in it. But it is your cupcake vanilla scent. And I've smelt this on a lot of people, and I've given a lot of people a lot of compliments on this fragrance. Why? Because the performance is there, the longevity is there, the sillage is there. It has everything in a celebrity fragrance, and I don't care if, you know, people bash the fragrance. I think it's wonderful, and fragrance and opinions are subjective, and my opinions are my own on this channel, and if people don't like it, they can just toodles. The next fragrance I'm going to talk about is another celebrity fragrance, and I absolutely don't like it, but I appreciate it, and that's Sarah Jessica Parker Lovely. It has too much lavender combined with musk with it. Now I do like lavender and I do like musk, however in this it's just too strong for me, but on some people they absolutely adore it, and on some people they find it very comforting. On some people they just find it very ethereal and very magical. For me, I don't. However, I appreciate the craftsmanship that has gone into it, and I appreciate the ethos behind it, and it's not for me, but it's still a big seller. So please just go check it out, go sniff it, go sample it, because you might like the lavender in it, but for me it's just a bit too much. It's just too much, and it bothered me, but I still appreciate it, and that's Sarah Jessica Parker Lovely. The next one I'm going to talk about is from the house of Jean Paul Gaultier, and that is the Classique version. This is powdery. This is strong and bombastic. This has that powdery feel of the backstage of applying the face powder. It has that kind of burlesque feel about it, which is what they wanted to get from it, and I think they did. I do like it. I do own it. I don't love it, but I still like it. It is, again, it's been reformulated. However, I still think it's a fairly good scent, but it is a shadow of the pre-reformulated version from it, but it's still lovely nonetheless. And when it did come out, it created a stir, and Jean Paul Gaultier fragrances, they do create a bit of a stir about them. The bottles themselves are absolutely stunning. I mean, even the Scandal bottles are lovely, and my favourite, So Scandal, you know, it's a beautiful fragrance. Even the original Scandal fragrance I love, but the Classique version, the original OG version, go check that out, because everybody back in the late 90s was wearing that. The next one I'm going to talk about is Tom Ford Black Orchid. And this fragrance, again, I appreciate, but I don't like. But it has this truffle note, apparently, whatever truffle smells like. And it's just a cacophony of notes. When it came out in 2006, again, it was a fragrance that broke the mould. Again, it's been reformulated. However, it's still a fragrance that is well loved, well revered, well appreciated by the fragrance community, because it is a classic. It's been a lot of people's signature scent. Black Orchid, you know, it's a conversation stopper. What are you wearing? You're wearing Black Orchid. You know, is it an autumn and winter fragrance? Are you daring to wear it in spring and summer? You know, some people are. For me, I can't pull it off, believe it or not, but because it bothers me. It just slightly bothers me. However, I can appreciate it. I can appreciate it at a distance, and it is still nonetheless a fragrance that has a strong presence about it. Let's face it, a lot of these fragrances that I've talked about have a strong presence about it. And there are lots more than this list that I think you should be able to try, but we could talk about it for hours, and this is just my top take on my top 20. So go check out Tom Ford Black Orchid. And finally, the last one I'm going to talk about is from the house of Calvin Klein, and that is Obsession. Kate Moss was the face of it. Who remembers Obsession when it came out? You know, it just created a stir. It strong, spicy. I own this. My husband adores this. Absolutely adores this when I wear this. Again, it's not for everybody, but Obsession is a classic fragrance. A lot of Calvin Klein fragrances I used to wear, like Eternity. I wouldn't wear it now. You know, Contradiction. I could still wear that now. You know, a lot of those fragrances, they had something about them, and Obsession kind of just cut through it all. And it was something like Opium or Poison that just, wow, what is she wearing? It's Obsession. You know, it's a fragrance that you can't overspray, but nonetheless, it's still that fragrance that creates a presence. So go check out Obsession. So those are my top 20. If you want me to do another top 20 of classic fragrances, or fragrances that I think you should at least sniff or own or try or sample, let me know in the comments down below. What are yours? Give me some ideas. I love feeding off of your ideas. But until the next time, you've been watching another edition of The Fragrantician. And remember, if somebody is talking about you, at least you're relevant. Well, until the next time, ciao for now.